Today on our show, we've already had the nerdy nom-noms. This week, we're doing the anti-nom-noms. And Adrian, he's got control of the show, man. He jacked the controls away. He's got the helm. And that's going to happen to the anti-nom-noms, the first annual, man, right here on the Nerdy Nomicon. Welcome to the Nerdy Nomicon. I'm Robbie, and with me is the luxurious haired, the picturesque, the chiseled sculpture of pop culture loathing, Adrian Steve.
The cutout of the last two episodes, Adrian Steve.
Well, to be fair, you knew that one of them was happening, and I told you that the second one was happening. I don't know if it registered, but you don't like the Nerdy Nom-Noms anyway, especially seeing as though the ogre gives you so much shit about it.
I don't love the Nom-Noms, and if we're calling them the Anti-NomNom's, which isn't even accurate for the way that I approach this because I don't have enough negative feelings about content for this past year. I mean, I have enough negative feelings, but I don't have enough shows to fill out the list. Like, I could do a full show on any one of the things I hate, but you want like a list. So I have a feeling we're going to be revisiting some of these topics, or this is going to be like a 2 to 10 part series.
Oh God.
So
I'm not sure how much I love that.
If we're going to call it, I don't know if the anti-nom-noms was even the best. Wouldn't you have to like just reverse it? Have to be like the smon,
the nom-nom nerdies,
the nerdy smon or something. I mean, it sounds terrible, but the nom sounds terrible too. So I mean,
it's true, but at the same time, it just gives you that, that imagery, that nom. We're gobbling up the pop culture. Oh God, that just made it sound even stupider, didn't it?
But are we really gobbling it up? I feel like we're spitting it out. We're like regurgitating it.
Well, we gobbled it up, and now we're regurgitating our thoughts for you out there, the listeners. We've gobbled it up, man. We've gobbled it. We choked on all of the pop culture. It's right down inside our esophagus. We gobbled it up, and now it's coming right at you, man. It's coming whether you want it or not, all over your faces, necks, and collective chests.
I hate everything about this analogy right now. I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, everything about it I hate.
Before we get to the lists and everything, man, how you been? It's been a minute since we've been able to do a show together.
It's been a lot
the
more
world
than
is
a
falling
minute.
apart. 2020 was the Richard Simmons of years. Just absolutely horrible, terrible, and never should have happened ever in the history of the world. But we got through it together.
Did we? I mean, the perfect analogy for 2020 was us having like a 3 to 4 month break between releases, recognizing it, calling it out, saying we're going to do better, and then having an even longer break between releases.
That really actually kind of was the best analogy. There's just been so much happening. I mean, good and bad, mostly bad. We're talking mental breakdowns. We're talking psychotic episodes. We're talking school grades, uprisings, civil unrest, bloodshed, police brutality, France.
No, we are not doing the politics.
We're not doing the
I'm cutting it
politics.
off.
I'm just saying that there's so much that's been going on. And 2021, I hope that this is the death rattle of 2020. I really do.
Here's the thing, and this literally just popped into my mind. I love that 2020 is over and that we believe like 2021 is going to be better, and I hope for it. It's hard to imagine it being worse, but it's not like all of our problems just magically go away because like December 31st flipped over to January 1st. And like,
of course not.
basically every monster or horror movie ever where you think it's done and then it comes back to life. I feel like we're in that like, oh, it's over period, and it's gonna like come back to life and fuck
So
things
it's gonna
up
like
even
pop
worse.
out of the lake and grab us around the throat and pull us in.
It's gonna pull somebody in, hopefully not me. I mean,
Can you swim?
I can swim.
You'll do just fine.
It's been a while. I'm not so great at it. I'm not gonna. Oh, God.
That was one good thing. I swam a lot over the summer, so that was a plus.
Was there like a reason behind that? And are you like prepping for something, or you just happen to swim?
Yes, both.
What were you prepping for?
Doomsday.
Yeah, I'm prepping for climate change. I really need to be able to swim those extra 2 minutes before I fucking drown.
Hey, what am I worried about? My chubby ass can, float. I've got a lot of buoyancy. But how have you been, dude? How is everything on your end?
It's just been insanity. It's been ongoing insanity nonstop. Even fully like removed from the insanity of the world, my insulated world has been insanity. And I really think one of the main reasons for that is because I've been cut out of the last 2 episodes, you motherfucker.
Well, there's one thing Andrew has that you don't.
Availability.
That's actually exactly what it was. That is 100% what it was. And here's the sad part is at the end of the NomNom's, we even discussed, he brought up an idea and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea for a show, Unpopular Opinions, with you, me, and Adrian Steve. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm smack dab in the middle of 2 really weird time zones. So either Andrew's staying up really fucking late. Andrew's going to be staying up really fucking late.
Where's he based out of?
England.
Oh, shit. Okay. And what's his address?
So,
And his social security number? Bank account? Credit card
give me
number?
just a second. Let me rifle through this.
No. All the pertinent information for a podcast that I didn't agree to.
Absolutely.
Was apparently invited to on an episode of my own co-hosted podcast that I wasn't invited to.
Well, of course you have to okay the idea, but let's be honest. Unpopular opinions, you're full of them. We scrapped an entire episode because we couldn't find the funny. We decided to start talking about holiday movies, and you spent an hour and a half railing about the concept of holidays in general. I'm pretty sure you strangled someone in that episode.
See, probably the problem with that episode was you let me talk too much, and you let me get going on something, and I will take the blame for that because I know you are just a full of love kind of person, and you had no idea how to deal with somebody who just was railing on every single holiday that has ever
Well,
existed.
that's just it. I thought I knew how to deal with you when you get in your moods. No. I was fucking wrong. Holy shit.
Robbie, nobody knows how to deal with me when I get in my moods. I don't know how to deal with me when I get in my moods.
But and that's just it. I'm not even joking. It was an hour and a half of Adrian just going off.
It was unsalvageable.
About holidays. It was unsalvageable.
Absolutely 100% unsalvageable.
It wasn't even something to throw up on Patreon because we like to reward people at patreon.com/nerdynomicon, give them early access to shows, longer versions of shows, what have you. This would have been like a punishment. It's like,
driving
you
our
motherfuckers gave us
subscribers away.
money. You gave us $2 this month. Well, here, you're going to be forced to listen to this.
Let me destroy all holidays forever for you. Thanks for your money.
And we didn't have the money incoming at the Patreon to provide free bottles of Prozac to all the listeners listening to this. So that's basically what the episode turned into. The more I've thought about it, it was salvageable, but we'd have to put in special effects and laugh tracks.
I think what would have had to have happened was we would have to split it up holiday by holiday and release it as like a minute or 2 minute long stinger at the end of other episodes that we release over the course of a few months. Like, and then you can, if you really want the full rant and the full like scrapped episode, you have to piece it together yourself.
So you're talking about turning our show into an ARG, essentially.
Whatever an ARG is, yes.
Augmented reality game?
I don't really think of it as
We'd
an augmented
add
reality
something
game.
at the very end of it and be like, now that you've listened to everything Adrian has to say about his hatred of holidays, go to Ohio. And they'd be like, why? Just go to Ohio. The answer's there. The answer's not in Ohio. It's just another clue.
That's why I left.
And that's what we'll do, man. I'll do that. I'll put the episode up, stingers and all of them, and we'll have a code built into it. And when they crack the code and they find the location, they go all the way to Senpu Temple just to find Adrian's nudes. The few nudes of Adrian circulating on the internet.
Man, those 3 listeners we still have are going to be real excited.
All right, man. We've been shooting the shit for about 10 minutes here. Let's jump into the Anti-NomNom's. Adrian, this is an Adrian-centric episode. I realize the irony of me saying that, seeing as that we just talked about the holidays.
Seeing as that you cut me out of 2.
Seeing as though we've already celebrated the good, there's been some rough shit in 2020 as well, and I think that we need to talk about it. So, Adrian, God help me, God save us all. The reins are yours. Take us there.
I tried to tell you this before, and I'm not sure you really realized it, but in true Adrian fashion, in true anti-fashion, I'm actually anti the Anti-NomNom's. I have things that I watched, and some of it I liked and some of it I didn't. So it's not even going to be all negative. That's how controversial or how contrarian, as the word I was looking for, I am.
So you flipped the script. I give you free reign to go as negative as you need to go on 3 shows and 3 movies, and you're like, I'm so negative, I'm not even going to be negative. How you like that, fucker? I'm going to fuck up your episode idea.
Pretty much.
All right, fair enough.
You see, here's the thing. You wanted a negative show, so you gave me a negative theme, but I'm a negative person, and a negative times a negative is a positive sometimes. So, you're going to get some positivity here. I'm not that positive that I can stay positive for the entire time. So it's not possible. and there's some themes. There's some intermingling stuff here going on. So
there's going to be through lines. There's going to be a running theme here.
there will be some through lines. It's not going to be the Last Jedi of a podcast. Like, there's going to be some through lines, and it's going to connect, and it's going to be pleasurable to our audience.
All right, guys. Adrian is going to pleasure you guys, and he's going to start doing that right now. Where are we starting off, man? Movies or shows?
I'm going to alternate back and forth between TV shows and movies.
Okay.
And I'm also going to alternate, although it's not going to be, tit for tat. I will flip back and forth between good things and bad things, and in some ways that they relate to each other.
Is there going to be any sort of consistency or continuity at all here, or are we just going to be all over the board?
So the first show.
All right, the first show.
Guess. Okay, we'll play a game, Robbie. We'll play a game. I'm not going to change up my order in any way or form, but first one's going to be a show, and as I said, I'll alternate shows and movies. That will be consistent. Do you think it's going to be positive or negative?
I think it's going to be positive.
Now I have to change up my order. You're supposed to guess wrong. See, I have to do the opposite of what you say. No, I'm not going to do that. So, but you're right. So there was a TV show that came out. I'm almost positive it came out this year. If it didn't come out this year, it came out like end of December last year. That I was surprised with. I was about to say impressed. I'm not sure I was particularly impressed with it. It wasn't an impressive show, but I was very surprised by how enjoyable it was. So I'm not sure if you've seen this one, Robbie. If we'd been doing a regular show, we probably could have talked about it at some point, or if I wasn't cut out of the last 2. But I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso on Apple Plus or whatever the hell they're calling it.
No, I haven't. I want to say I've heard of it, but I'm not even sure that that's the case. No, I have not seen that.
So here's the pitch for the show, and you're going to think it's just not a great idea. And you would be right, but somehow they really, really pull it off in an endearing and honest way. So Ted Lasso is a character that Jason Sudeikis created for, I want to say, ESPN, or it was one of the sports shows, or like, anyways, the character was a kind of like a bumbling college football coach. And the idea was, I think he only appeared in like a handful of sketches, and this was like years ago. And I believe in the sketches, I watched them a while back, but he like gets hired to be like a head coach for the English Premier League, somewhere over there, like playing soccer. Like, oh, it's football, but it's not, because it's, soccer versus American football. And that's the whole premise. And it's like, oh, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, and he's not really good at his job, but he's very positive. And then he gets fired at the end of the sketches, and this lasted maybe, I don't know, a month or two. And I think it was really just a marketing ploy to like get people to watch soccer, which doesn't happen a lot over here. So that's the premise of the show. The premise of the show is this: there's an American football coach who gets hired to coach an English Premier League, not one of the top teams, but someone in that world with absolutely no qualifications. And that's it. That's the show. But I will say this about it. His relentless positivity was absolutely direly needed in a year like 2020. His refusal to quit, his refusal to get negative, his refusal to do anything other than the best that he could with what he had available to him. Like, it was a really, and I've used this word before, it was a really endearing show. It was really entertaining. It was funny. It didn't feel like ham-fisted. It didn't feel like it had this overbearing message of like, oh, you have to be positive even in the worst moments of your life. It's just like, here's a character that's relentlessly positive, even in crazy situations and circumstances, and even in the midst of getting screwed over. He just refuses to look at it in a dark way. And so it was a really enjoyable show. I absolutely recommend it to anybody who can get it and is interested. I know it's on Apple Plus, which is kind of not the easy. I won't say it's not the easiest service, but there's not a lot of content on it, so it's like hard to really decide. Oh, I'm gonna go sub Apple Plus for like.
It's hard really to justify.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a handful of shows, maybe, or I don't even know if they have movies on there. Like, they're trying, but it's a very early fledgling service. But I know that you do get it for free for a year, or at least you did, if you've recently bought a new Apple product. So I guess if you got a new iPhone or a new laptop or something, they just kind of throw it in there. It's kind of similar to the way Amazon Prime throws in their stuff, although they have a lot more content and that's more of a focus for them. But most people don't get Prime for the movies and the TV shows. They get it for the faster delivery, but you still get the movies and the TV shows, which is nice. So,
well, okay. What's that show called again?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
You know what? I have to make sure, because that might just be the character's name. I'm pretty sure it's just called Ted Lasso, but that'd be really dumb if I'm like, hey, go watch this show, and I'm not calling it the wrong thing. If you do end up liking it, as I did, it's a pretty short show. It's only about 10 episodes. I think about half an hour a piece, probably closer to like 25. They don't have ad breaks, but if it was formatted for TV, probably closer to like 25 a show. I believe it's already been renewed for 2 more seasons. So,
well, all right then.
Yes, and it is confirmed called Ted Lasso. If anyone's interested.
So Adrian approves of Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is his man.
Yep.
So
8.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And Adrian's rating?
I give it a solid 4.5 out of 5.
That's high praise for you.
I mean, for what it is. I mean, I'm not going to hold it up against like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul or something as like some pinnacle of cinematic, artistic television. But for a comedy, it kept my attention. It was entertaining. It was a very different view because usually you have really snarky people that are your main comedians and tons and tons of shows. And it was a totally different character than we've seen in a long time. And that was refreshing, especially in the shit-tastic year that we've had in 2020.
All right, man. You've all but sold me on checking out this show. Okay. So that's a positive mention for Adrian.
Also, if you need more justification for Apple Plus, this is not on my list. There is another show by one of the creators of Always Sunny in Philadelphia called Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet, I think, which is based off of, he's basically a God Complex video game developer for a World of Warcraft type game. And it's like the behind the scenes of him and his team and building this game and all that kind of stuff. That was entertaining. It's not nearly as good as Ted Lasso, but if you like Always Sunny, check it out. There's another reason to subscribe for Apple Plus and then cancel it when you're done with it before they charge you if they have a free trial. I don't know. Do they have a free trial?
They might have a free
trial.
And
the free trial is you get a phone. You buy one of their $1,400 phones, you get a free trial for a year.
Yeah, because that seems appropriate.
Yeah, that's free, right? It only costs you $1,400 goddamn dollars.
All right, man. Next one on your list. What do you got?
Okay, so keeping with I'll call it a quirky comedy theme. The next one on my list is a movie. You will probably not ever guess it, but I'll give you a chance if you want to. It was a Netflix original quirky comedy.
Kissing Booth 2.
No, is that even a quirky comedy? I've never seen it. I haven't seen the first one.
I have no idea.
Okay, so you're just being a dick. Got it. Moving on. I don't know if you watched this one or not. I know we did not talk about it. I don't think we had any plans to talk about it, but there was a Will Ferrell movie that released, I want to say around summer or maybe earlier, spring or summer 2020, called Eurovision.
No, I have not seen it. I've been meaning to, but I have not seen it yet.
It was not great. I mean, I'm not going to say it was the worst thing in the world. I like Will Ferrell. I think he's typically entertaining, although I feel like his career trajectory has followed Adam Sandler's a little bit, where it's there's some great movies at the beginning, and then, okay, you're still making movies, but they're just kind of not really hitting the same way. Yep. And then every once in a while he'll throw some kind of a serious film in there with you, with something like Stranger Than Fiction, or I don't know, he had another one, I'm sure, but I feel like he's kind of following that same career trajectory. So that Eurovision, it was entertaining enough, I suppose, for a single watch. I don't think I'd ever go back and watch it again. The music, I didn't love the music, but the music itself was well done and produced well, so I'll give it that. The basic premise is he is a musician who is not particularly great. He's kind of a joke in his hometown, and he has a duo with another person in his hometown, and I don't remember what country it is in, but Eurovision is this giant music contest where that a bunch of countries in Europe participate in, and they each hold almost like their own little preliminaries for their country, and then they select one song or one band or artist or whatever to represent them at the main Eurovision contest. And then it's okay, here's the artist from Finland, and here's the artist from Iceland, and here's the artist from here and there, and they all basically compete to see who has the top voted song or whatever, the best song. And this is an actual true competition, but this is just a movie about kind of a bumbling oaf who his dream is to win the competition and somehow gets in while still being a bumbling oaf musically, and hijinks, I guess.
Well, okay then.
Did I sell it? Did I sell it for you?
Well, when you said that it wasn't that great, you kind of took it off of my list, so.
I mean, here's what I'll say. It's worth a single watch, maybe. If you can't find anything else, and this is a ringing endorsement, if you can't find anything else, you should watch Eurovision. I wouldn't put Eurovision above anything that I was super, super interested in watching, right? So let's say oh, this new show that I've been waiting for months is coming out, but I still haven't seen Eurovision. Eurovision isn't going to leap that. Or Stranger Things season 5 or whatever they're on, like Eurovision isn't going to leap that. But if you're like, I just need something and I have no ideas and there's nothing that I'm particularly interested in that has come out recently, give it a shot. It's 90 minutes. You might enjoy the music.
Okay.
You might enjoy some of the jokes, some of it. It has its moments, but overall, not a particularly strong film.
Okay, then.
2 out of 5.
That sounds a little bit better.
It's not something that I think you're really meant to... Well, you're obviously not meant to take it seriously, but I think it's something that you don't really have to pay a ton of attention to. There's not a lot of details and nuances. It's a kind of a background comedy flick. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I gotcha.
There are some shows, there's some movies that you have to be engaged. Like Hereditary. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss shit. Or Inception. Or and these are dramas, but there are comedies that are kind of like that too, where I find it really hard not to pay attention. Like there are comedies that you can have in the background, and they're still entertaining. They're still fun. I think a great background comedy is The Office. You don't have to actively watch it, probably because you've already seen it a million fucking times. But there are comedies that Tavia and I have watched a ton of times, almost as many times as The Office, but I still find my attention drawn to them as opposed to just having it on in the background. And I think a good example of that would be, like, for me, Community. If Community is on, I find it really hard not to pay attention to it because I just really enjoy the jokes, and there's lots of little hidden things in there. So
that's entirely fair. That's actually a perfect example. Community is also just great. So
yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic show. It is. I think we told people to watch it, and if you haven't watched it, go fucking watch it.
Oh yeah. Community. I absolutely love that show.
Although I will say I'm still a little upset about the removal of the Dungeons and Dragons episode, because that is a very, very strong episode. And it's disappointing that a lot of people, if they haven't seen it, they won't get to see that episode based on the Dr. Ken's character, Chang, dressing up as a dark elf. And by dressing up, he has like his face painted white wig.
Drow.
Yeah, he's dressed up as a drow, and they put it as a blackface racial thing, which I see where they're coming from. I kind of disagree, since he's cosplaying essentially as a mythical race. But that's down a rabbit hole.
I full-heartedly disagree, seeing as though they make the joke in the episode. I didn't know that was removed. Is that removed on Netflix?
Yes.
Because it's been on Hulu.
I thought Hulu removed it too. I'll double check it, but I think when they were going through it, I know Netflix pulled it, and I'm pretty sure Hulu pulled it too. Which is, again,
that is absolutely fucking infuriating, because that was one of the jokes. They even mock him, calling him Al Jolston, who was a famous actor that was known for doing blackface.
Yeah.
They literally make the joke in the show.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we don't, again, want to get into politics or anything. I think it's one of those things where it becomes a slippery road or slippery slope.
That one is some bullshit politics right there. I think
that one's idiotic. Really frustrating for me, because it's such a really good, powerful episode. It's not just a funny episode, but there's a lot of, like, I hate using it, there's a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of, like, real shit that they're dealing with in the guise of a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's basically an episode about the group coming together to help someone that really isn't in the group, who seems very depressed, potentially suicidal, and they go out of their way to, like, include him and make him feel better. And despite one of their group members not doing that or actively working against that, they all end up coming together, and that person feels better at the end regardless. So I think there's, like, a really powerful, like, mental health message in there. And unfortunately, it gets undercut because of this one. And it's like, what, 10, 15 seconds? Like, he's barely in it. But because of the makeup and everything, they took it. So it's frustrating to lose such a great message for that, when it doesn't even seem like it's about that. But again, I'm a white guy, so what the fuck do I know? Like, there probably are people that are offended by that, and I don't want to, like, minimize their feelings.
Yeah. And I don't want to minimize their feelings either. I mean, and I get that some people may be offended, but at the same time, people get offended based on pretty much anything. There's not a sentence you could say that's not going to piss off somebody. That's another thing that we've learned in 2020 and the beginnings of 2021. Even things that shouldn't be controversial become controversial. So, I don't know. I'm sure that there's people out there that think that it was a good idea and, a job well done yanking that episode. Frankly, I think that is definitely a step too far. It's definitely a bridge too far. It's just too far on every conceivable metric.
I would personally recommend, if people are watching Community based on our suggestions and they've never seen it before, find out when that episode is supposed to happen and go out of your way to watch it once, wherever you can find it. And I feel bad saying this, but honestly, if it's no longer on the streaming services legally, fucking pirate it and make your own decision about whether you think it was worth being pulled or not, or at least get the message, because they actually kind of reference it a couple times in the future episodes. It's not a big thing. It's not like it's going to break continuity. You're not going to understand what's happening without it, but it does.
But at the same time, there is a second Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Yeah,
too,
that's true.
Yeah,
and they reference the first one. They reference the character and their actions in a few other episodes. Again, it's not a game breaking thing, but I still think it's a fairly powerful and important episide. So, make your own decision. Make your own decision about being offended by it or liking it or whatever.
Yes. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. Wow. Well, that actually pissed me off that they would remove that episode. That really kind of pisses me off. Huh. All right.
Speaking of pissed
next
off.
One on your list, buddy.
Speaking of pissed off, we're going to move on to TV. This is going to be a negative one in case you can't tell already.
Oh, I can tell already. I can tell. What do you got for us?
Oh, my God. I think this one hurt because I was really looking forward to it. I couldn't wait. I could not wait. And then it released, and actually I had to wait because I was so busy. I couldn't watch it right away. And it was kind of a semi-holiday themed thing. And you know how I feel about holidays, and I was buried in work. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. Every single holiday this past year didn't feel like it was a holiday. It didn't feel like a season. It didn't feel like anything. It felt like the same day. It was like fucking Groundhog Day. It was like, get up, stay in the house, get food, do your work, deal with the same shit, go to bed, wake up again, do it over and over again. So I was about a month late to this one after its release, but it was still vastly disappointing because I really liked the first season. So, of course, if you haven't deduced it yet, Robbie, I'm talking to Robbie right now. It was Haunting of Bly Manor. Supremely disappointing. Supremely disappointing compared to Hill House.
Compared to Hill House, I get it, but at the same time, it's a different beast. It's a different type of story that they were trying to tell. I will admit I was disappointed that there were not as many scares, that it was not as frightening. But once I figured out what they were trying to do, that show actually became one of my top shows of the year.
I'm not sure I ever figured out what they were trying to do. I figured out what they had done, which is bore the shit out of me.
Ay. Come on, man.
Okay, I am known to embellish sometimes for a joke. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not an embellishment. When Tavy and I were watching it, it was painful to get through. It was very boring. There were so many monologues, and the only thing that kept us going through this, and again, not joking, was referencing how the series began and making fun of it. Do you remember how it began? There's
a wedding?
Yeah, and the woman is at the party and she's like, well, I have a story. And then she launches into this, right? She launches into the story of Bly Manor. And all we could think about this is how we got through. We're like, God, I feel bad for those other guests she's talking to. Like, are they still there? Is anyone still? Is she just talking to herself alone? Like, I feel like people would have gotten up and left.
So basically, the same jokes that we all made about How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah,
it's like 9 years later, he's still talking to those fucking kids.
Absolutely, it's the same shit. Except there is some entertainment in How I Met Your Mother occasionally. I think. Bly Manor was supremely disappointing. I was really, really unimpressed with it. There was not much scary anything in it. There wasn't even really much ghosts in it. Like, I mean, the ghosts were there and they were...
What are you talking about? There were ghosts everywhere.
They were tangential to the entire story. Like, you could have removed basically all the ghosts and nothing would have changed.
What are you even talking about? The ghosts were more integral to the plot than they were in Hill House.
I disagree.
Hill House could easily be tacked up to everything being metaphorical, and what actually happened to their mother was just a descent into mental illness. Bly Manor doesn't exist if you don't have the supernatural.
Bly Manor isn't entertaining if you don't have a mental illness. I just had to throw that in there.
All right, well, I guess this is a situation where we're going to have to agree to disagree.
I disagree to that. I don't agree to that at all. I'm right and you're wrong.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I thought that for what the show was, which is quite different than Hill House, I thought that it was great. It was not as good as Hill House. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5 or anything like that. But especially in a year where so much shit got pushed, so much shit got shifted or canceled, so many things in limbo. Out of the things that I was able to see, out of the things that did actually come out, I think that it was one of the best of the year. Now, you could take a look at that and be like, wow, you really didn't see much this year, did you? And to a degree, that may be accurate, but I enjoyed it. I thought that it was really good, and for the record, I bawled my eyes out at the finale. Yes, I did. Yep.
I will say the only episode that I was remotely engaged with, because I don't want to pretend like I wasn't like not paying attention to it. It just didn't grab me. Nothing grabbed me. I didn't care about the kids. I didn't care about the au pair. I didn't care about like any of the characters. They were all boring, and they wouldn't stop talking about boring stuff. The one episode, or half episode, honestly, because it got kind of old, was when they had, I think she was the maid or the housekeeper. I don't know what her official title was, where she was kind of jumping through time, and they were showing that. I thought that episode was well done, but I also felt by the end it was overdone.
I will agree with that. By the end of the episode, it was overdone. I thought that the idea of how they tucked them away and how they presented that, I thought was a stroke of genius. But I agree with you. I felt that was a bit overdone as well.
But that was the only part that really stood out to me. And I can think of multiple things in Hill House that stood out to me from a... not from like a scare standpoint, but from like I really was intrigued at how they did that, whether it was the cinematography,
even an artistic standpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
the cinematography 6. Or the storytelling or you know, like I think the one episode where they had all those long shots without cuts or with hidden cuts in them. And they were...
You're talking about episode 6 at the funeral home, right?
Yeah. I think it's called The Two Storms or whatever. Like that, the cinematography on that was incredible.
It was breathtaking. Flanagan did an amazing job.
Yeah, on top of the storytelling. And then even the... each episode was kind of focused on Hill House. Each episode was kind of focused on an individual character and some of the stuff that they were going through. And I found a lot of those to be really engaging as well. With Bly Manor, it just didn't do it for me. I was hoping for something a lot closer to Hill House, whether we're talking about from a scare factor or an eeriness factor or even a character-driven focused factor. I just wasn't, I didn't get what I wanted. And basically any way. And I think it was extra disappointing because I felt like it was semi-tied to Hill House. I know it wasn't the same characters, but it was a lot of the same actors and the same like production
Yeah,
crew.
they kind of pulled a Ryan Murphy.
So
yeah, they cast the same actors in different roles. Look, if anyone out there is waiting for me to compare the two and say, oh well, I think that Bly Manor is, at least as good or anything like that, I'm not going to, because Hill House was definitely the far superior show. I mean, far superior show. That being said, I did like Bly Manor for what it was. I thought that it was a really good show. I thought that it had some pacing issues. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was well scripted. It had a lot of emotionality to it. There were issues with it. Yeah, some of the gimmicks got a little bit old. For me, it was the headlight eye ghost.
yeah, it had no real purpose. I mean,
Basically, just a hearkening reminder.
yeah, and not even a real ghost. I don't want to get into it, but
yeah, I didn't love that. So I mean, yeah, of course it had issues with it, but overall, I thought that it was a solid show.
honestly, I forget what I
Myself.
gave Hill House. I feel like I gave Hill House somewhere in the range of 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, you were close to perfect.
I feel like Bly Manor, honestly, I would struggle to give it above like a 3 out of 10. That's how disappointed I was with it.
Do you think that it was that the show itself was that bad, or do you think it was the disappointment based on your own expectations of what the show was going to be? And I'm not saying that you're wrong for looking at it that way at all. I'm just
I think if
think about that. Do you think
if
it was the
wasn't-
show itself, or if it was based on your expectations?
I think if it wasn't Haunting of Bly Manor, if it was called something totally different, completely unrelated to Haunting of Hill House, the max I could maybe give it would be like 4 out of 10. So I think there is a little bit
so
of a
you think that
disappointment.
the show itself was problematic for you regardless, but you think that it was worse because
yeah.
of its ties
Yeah,
to Hill
the
House.
disappointment definitely brings it down lower. It's like if you really like season 1 of a show and you're looking forward to season 2, and season 2 is not nearly what you thought it was going to be, it's kind of crappy. It's going to feel even worse than just some random show that had, you were just hopeful it would be good and it was a brand new show. Like,
Fair.
yeah. So, but beyond it not being Hill House, that's not why I'm giving it such a, it's just, honestly, it felt like a chore to watch it sometimes. Actually, fairly often, it was like a chore to watch it. And there were multiple times both myself and Tavia had thought, like, do we really want to, it's not getting any better. We were hopeful it would pick up, and it didn't really pick up. It just kind of like started at a level and kind of stayed at a level, and it had a lot of questions that it really never answered or didn't do much to answer throughout most of it until they tried to kind of tie it all together at the end. But it just wasn't satisfying. And so we had considered, honestly, stopping it probably 3 or 4 separate times. And I was just like, how many episodes are left? Like, we got really, really close to stopping. I was like, okay, there's like 2 episodes left. Like, let's just see it through. Like, I'm not expecting it to get better, but we're already this far into it. Let's just see it through. Maybe they can,
That's fair.
maybe they can pull it off in the end. And for us, it didn't.
That's fair. All right. Next one. What do you got?
Movie. It's going to be, this is another kind of eerie horror movie to tie in with Bly Manor. This one was called His House. I told you you should watch this one. I don't know if you ever did.
I have not.
Oh,
no,
God.
I don't even. You're bringing it up, and I remember you talking about it, and I don't even remember what the premise of it was, but I do remember you recommending it.
Highly recommend it.
Oh, you didn't recommend it.
No, highly recommend it. Highly recommend
Okay.
it. Especially with it just being about an hour and a half. I don't think it's even a full 2 hours. It's a short film. It's a short horror movie. They did a great job of building an atmosphere. I think they kind of club you over the head with the main thing that happens about I don't know, a third of the way into it, they start kind of clubbing you over the head with the explanation of what's happening. But it's still really well done. The atmosphere it creates, the questions it raises, the issues it deals with. By the end of the movie, what you find out what the main reason for everything is, I think they do a great job with it. I don't want to go too far into it because you haven't seen it, and again, with it being so short, I do recommend it. I'm not going to say it's the best fucking horror movie that I've ever seen or the best movie in the world, but I would recommend it. I think it does stuff a little bit different than we have seen. It still has a great atmosphere, has kind of creepy shit that happens. It's got like your kind of like jump scary kind of like physical ghost kind of thing going on, but it also got this like atmospheric, ethereal, like transport you to a different kind of world thing that it does, kind of. I'm struggling to draw a parallel to it, but usually movies stick to one or the other. They have like the Jason, Freddy coming after you slasher kind of thing, or they have that like deep-seated mental like anguish. You're kind of lost in a box or lost in an other world, and the loneliness and the fear of being trapped there is the dread, and that's the horror. This one kind of puts them together in an interesting way. So.
Okay, His House it is. That's going to be something that I check out this weekend then.
Do it.
Okay, right on. Okay, His House, you give a recommendation to. Take us there, man. Take us to the next one.
Okay, so we're flipping back to TV. This pair is going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
I don't want to go too much into this because I really feel like it deserves its own full episode. If not 2, or probably 3 when the next season comes out.
Okay.
But I will say, since we have not talked about it yet, and I don't know if this made it into your list or not, because again, I was not invited to the last 2 shows, so I don't know. I really don't know.
Motherfucker.
But on my list of what was really enjoyable and just really fucking well done, season 2 of The Boys.
That was not on my list.
But it should have been.
And it should have been.
It should have been.
It should have been. There were... The Boys should have been on. I'll give you that. As a matter of fact, there's a show that I just checked out. I finally made time for it, seeing as though Andrew just raved about it. I don't know how I slept on it. Cobra Kai should have been on my list as well.
Oh, that's on my list.
Cobra Kai should have been high on my list.
I don't fault you for Cobra Kai. I'll jump ahead for a second to deal with Cobra Kai, because my last ones are a little all over the place.
I will say this. I agree with you on The Boys. I think that it deserves its own episode because there's a lot to unpack here and there's a lot of complex themes.
Yeah. But I won't fault you for sleeping on Cobra Kai. I think almost everybody did, because it used to be on YouTube Red. And I don't know a single person that had it. But once it came to Netflix, and again, I've only seen the first season. I know there were 2 seasons, I think, on YouTube, and I believe Netflix just released a 3rd season, like this month or this week or whenever the fuck this thing releases, 2 quarters ago.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I know it's not the most recent thing, but I think it's brand new for a lot of people. It is a phenomenal idea, and it's executed very, very well. I won't say it's
executed
flawless.
brilliantly.
Yeah, but it's done incredibly well. And then it's the question of what happens to our heroes and our villains, our childhood heroes and villains. What happens to them 20, 30 years later? Because we all like to say like, oh, well, Daniel won the tournament and that's it. And that's the end of the story. And it's like, well, he's what? 16 maybe? Like, his life isn't over. It continues on. There's more to tell there. And so being able to explore that with...
But not only that, but also see it from another perspective.
Exactly. So being able to explore the story after the story we know with characters that we already we already know and are invested in some fashion. And to completely flip it the way that they did, it's honestly like it almost feels stupid saying this, almost like I'm overblowing it, but from what we usually get from TV and movies and all that kind of stuff, all this cookie cutter fucking same old bullshit, I don't want to oversell it, but it feels like it's a stroke of genius. It really, really does.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. I think, again, this is a show that I think deserves multiple episodes dedicated to it because it's so dense and there's so much there. But I hope you can do it soon because I really want to dig in deep on this. Cobra Kai is brilliant for so many things, both of the things that we just listed, but for me, it's also, we're used to a simple type of character progression. Person starts here, then they end up here as far as an arc, or someone starts as a hero, they descend into a villain. Cobra Kai is very interesting in that it lives in that moral ambiguity, that constant gray area. You see the people that we saw as heroes actually seem more like villains. See villains that actually you understand how they got there and you kind of see them as almost a hero. Then you're also seeing characters as you progress go from a hero to a villain to a hero again, and vice versa. It's a brilliant storytelling mechanic. And I cannot say enough about this show. It's absolutely fantastic.
So that one's on my list as something that, even though I don't think a new series or a new show or a new episode came out at all in 2020, I think it was able to finally reach a new audience that wasn't available to it before. So that's why I tossed
Much
it on
agreed.
there.
Much agreed.
Going back to The Boys, I think that's another series that really deserves to be unpacked in its own episode.
Yes, it does.
Honestly, it's one of the few, if not the only series I think that has been released on a weekly basis that it has not pissed me off. It pisses me off that I can't binge it, but it's still enjoyable. There's a lot of shows that I just won't watch until they're all ready, so I can just watch them when I want. The Boys was
right there with you.
So important. It was so entertaining and enjoyable and intriguing that I found myself, even though it was weekly and it kind of pissed me off, I was looking forward to that release. I was like, I have to watch this when it releases. Like, I need to see it immediately.
Did you find yourself staying up for it for the release, or just watching it the day that it came out, or what?
I don't think we were staying up for it specifically, but as soon as we were available...
I did that with The Stand when it dropped.
Yeah.
I stayed up for The Stand. It released very early on its release date. I want to say it was like December 17th or something like that. I stayed up very early, and I watched that as soon as it dropped. So...
No, I don't think...
I wouldn't have blamed you.
I don't think we were specifically staying up to it, but as soon as we were both... And Tavia felt the same way about it. As soon as we were both available to watch it, and it was available to be watched, we watched it. So if it was releasing at like midnight on a Wednesday, and we probably watched it Thursday night because we couldn't stay up that late and I had work or whatever. But as soon as we were available and it was available, it was being watched by us. So.
Yep. I get it. All right, so that takes care of your two shows, Cobra Kai and The Boys,
Yep.
Both of which are going to have full episodes where we are going to discuss them because there is a lot to unpack with these shows, a lot. And to really dive into it, we need to talk spoilers.
Absolutely.
So
look for those in 2022.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's okay. Well, you know what? It might be before that. I just probably won't be on it. Anyways.
You're such an asshole.
Said the man who cut me out of my own show.
Didn't cut you out, man. You weren't available at 10 o'clock in the morning. Actually, that was 10 o'clock in the morning for me. That was 7 a.m. for you.
I might have been available. I really might have been. You never asked.
I made an assumption.
Yeah. Well, you know
And I
what
may
they
have
say
been
about
wrong.
that.
They make an A out of Sasumi or whatever the
No,
fuck
they
the
go
song
fuck
is.
yourself. That's what they say about that. You see, you're making another assumption about what they say. God damn.
All right, man. Let's power on through. What else you got on your list?
Okay, so this ties in more with The Boys than it does with Cobra Kai, because I told you there was a little
Okay.
bit of like pairing themes and stuff going through it. But I guess you
Right.
could make a case for Cobra Kai. This is a movie. I thought it was bad. She's a hero. Wonder Woman 84 or whatever the fuck they called it. Not impressed.
Man,
Really not
you know,
impressed. Really unimpressed.
I am really not surprised on that. That movie opened to massive, massive critical acclaim. And as soon as it was released on HBO Max, more eyes got on it, more people got a chance to see it. The impressions of this movie just dropped like a rock. And it has gone from certified fresh to just, there to now certified rotten. And it now joins Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman in that nasty little patch where it's considered rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I disagree. I loved this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But to really jump into this would cause a lot of debate and back and forth.
Which I'm all for. I got all the time in the world to rail on that movie.
I unfortunately don't right now. It's getting later and later here. But this is your show, so go ahead.
So go ahead and do it
Why do you
anyways.
hate it? So what were you expecting? Why didn't you like it?
I don't know what I was expecting, but I sure as shit didn't get it. Let me put it that way. I felt like I was going into it with a fairly open mind. I think this might suffer a little bit similarly to Bly Manor, where is a sequel. I mean, this one actually is a sequel, whereas Bly Manor is kind of a perceived sequel. And
Right.
the
Spiritual successor.
the original movie or season, whichever one you want to look at, was pretty damn good, honestly. I really liked the first Wonder Woman. I thought it was. I'm sure there were probably some problematic parts in it that I'm kind of forgetting, but overall, I thought it was well done. It was an enjoyable movie. It was a good experience. Probably one of the best, if not the best, DC movies that they've kind of in their DC universe. Let me put it that way, because I think
I agree.
I think Joker was really good, but I don't think it really ties into the DC universe. So I'm kind of like putting that one aside.
I'm not even going to say that. I really don't know anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. So
There's been murmurs of them doing some crazy shit, so
for right now,
I
though,
truly don't know.
For right now, it doesn't tie into anything.
For right now, yes.
But Wonder Woman does. So
Yes.
so I don't know. It's unfortunate because it feels like it really kind of took a nosedive, and especially based off of the first one. And I was not impressed with this. The story wasn't particularly great. The villain wasn't particularly great. There was a lot of problematic issues throughout the movie with her powers, with I want to say kind of like the stated powers of the wishing crystal or whatever the fuck we want to call it. It creates a lot of problems, not just
messed up continuity is more what you're getting at?
it creates a lot of problems, not just for itself, but also for the other movies that came before it, but actually come after it. It's just, you're expected to just take a lot of things at face value and not really think about them. And that's not the kind of person I am, and I know that's not the kind of person that you are. So maybe we're the
Not at
wrong
all.
audience for this movie. Or maybe I'm the wrong audience for this movie. You loved it, apparently. Or
I did.
Or really
I did
liked
love
it,
it.
at least. But yeah, God, this one could be an episode all by itself, and I think we'd have a good debate over it, because I was not
I think we
happy.
would too. Based on the few things that you have said, I have some pushback for it. So that one is another episode that's coming up. Wow, we're just going through and we're just ticking off the episodes, and you guys are going to be like, yo, I'm looking forward to this one. And Adrian's like, Cobra Kai coming 2022.
Yeah.
People are like, no, Adrian's team.
See, we have a lot to talk about when we take 5 months off.
We're not taking 5 months off again. I miss this show way too much.
We said that
I
last time.
miss it
We said
way
that
too
last time we were gone longer than we were the time before.
Well, I'm going to Shanghai you at 7 a.m. All right? We're recording in the mornings.
You're so desperate to record. You're getting people across the sea to record instead of me. You're replacing my job with a foreigner. That's how awful this feels right now. What about my job? What about my job guarantee, Robbie? What happened to us?
You can always come here to the Nerdynomicon. Sit down right here on my lap and read the book with me.
You know I can't read. God damn you.
All right, so you've got Wonder Woman 84. That should bring us to what, one more movie?
I've got actually, you're not going to like this. I've got one more movie and one more TV show, but they were kind of throw-ins. We don't necessarily have to do them. It's up to you.
I'm curious. I want to know.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I literally threw these on there in case we needed more time to talk because I wasn't sure how long we were going to talk about all these different shows and movies. So keeping with, you know what? I'm going to flip them.
Realistically speaking, if we talked about everything as much and in as much depth as I want to, this would be a 5-hour episode.
Right. I know. I wasn't sure how willing you were for that. So we just did a movie. We had Cobra Kai and we kind of skipped it up. So we just did a movie. So I'm going to skip to the last TV show, which is going to finish out the show, but we'll actually end up with the final movie that is on my list. So the last TV show, and God damn it, you can thank Tavia for this one. I fucking hate this show, and yet I can't stop watching it. It is reality TV garbage. Fucking garbage. It is the goddamn worst thing that I can't pry my eyeballs off of. It's not quite to the level of like Jersey Shore or Teen Mom or whatever the trashiest of the trashy is.
Oh, no.
You don't know.
I forgot the name of it, but I know what it is.
Did I tell you? I might have told you. It's this show. It's been on for numerous seasons. If you need to know anything about this show before I tell you what it's actually about, it's on the Bravo network. Okay, like no one goes there for quality. You're not.
Never mind. I don't think I know what it is.
It's a little show called Below Deck.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, that's not the one I thought it was. I thought you were talking about Love Island or whatever it's called on Netflix.
That was on Netflix, and that was incredible. No, actually, I don't think. I don't think I watched that one. Are you thinking of Too Hot to Handle?
That's the one.
I didn't watch that one. I tried. It was too difficult. That one was too difficult. I did watch Love Is Blind, which was also. That one was more watchable to me because I don't know why. The people were just slightly less insufferable than Too Hot to Handle. Like they got attractive people, but the idea wasn't like, oh, let's put attractive people next to each other and see what happens. It was like, oh, let's see if attractive people care about looks or something. Like the idea behind Love Is Blind was like, oh, people are gonna talk to each other through walls and through like messaging and whatever, and they're gonna date each other without ever having seen each other. And then if they want to see each other, they basically have to propose. One of them has to propose, and then they see if they actually go through with the wedding. It's like, it's a fucking stupid idea, but it's thoroughly entertaining to watch if you have nothing else to do. But no, back to Bravo Network's Below Deck. So here's the premise of the show, and I've been talking about this with a couple of people because I am equally embarrassed and equally losing large amounts of my time to this show because there's a lot of seasons to catch up on. It's so bad. The premise of the show is there are these yachts that people charter for vacations. The vacations can be anywhere from 1 day to a handful of days, maybe 3 days tops. And they'll go out wherever they're at, whether it's the Caribbean or the Mediterranean or whatever. It's basically rich people vacations, right? But the show doesn't really focus on the people that are having the vacations. They make appearances and they interact with the crew, whatever. But it's really about the crew and the people that try to make these people's vacations stellar. To get an idea of the scale of people, or I don't want to say class because there's some pretty not classy people in there, but to get an idea of the money that these people have to charter a yacht for a handful of days for a vacation where they're waited on hand and foot, they, at the end, the big thing is the tip that they give to the crew on top of what they've already paid to, charter the boat and do whatever the fuck they want. And the tip that they split amongst all the crew is anywhere from, and these are just kind of, I'm pulling like the lowest that I've seen to the highest I've seen, and kind of in that range, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 for a handful of days, on top of what they've already paid. Just like, oh yeah, like you tip your pizza guy, like a good tip is like $5 or $6. A good tip for like your yacht vacation, 20 to 30 grand. Like, oh yeah, let me just throw that on top there. Here you go.
Holy shit.
Yes. But so it's not so much about the money. It's really about the crazy amounts of work and the crazy amounts of stress they put these people in, and the close quarters. And then there's always interpersonal conflicts. And then there's always people like grinding up on each other and like hooking up. And then you throw in,
like they do,
you throw in some of the extra stuff that happens, like, oh, we're on a boat and this boat thing is broken now. And we don't have the fucking special cake that they requested because we were so busy we forgot about it. We didn't make it. It's all that kind of drama reality bullshit. But it is thoroughly entertaining. I can't lie. It's not good. It's not a great show. But it is difficult to stop watching. Because you'll find yourself in God.
Okay,
you remember there was a period of time, I don't remember if we talked about it on the show or not, where Tavia pulled me into another reality show shame spiral with America's Next Top Model.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember that. I remember that. The way that it works is you find somebody that you are rooting for, and or you find somebody that you're rooting against. And you just decide, this is my person, or fuck that person. And you just want to see, like, oh, does my person have a great time? Or does that person get fucking fired? Or like, that's all it is. And yeah, it's embarrassing, but it's on the list because it's been taking up a lot of my time recently.
Oh boy.
Fortunately, it's not something that you really actively have to pay attention to, but you end up doing it anyways.
I don't even know what to say to that. Okay.
Are you intrigued? Are you at least intrigued by the way I described it?
The premise sounds interesting. I won't be watching it, but the premise sounds interesting.
You're going to watch it. You're going to come across it at some point, and you'll be like, oh shit, he was talking about that. And then you're going to look up, you're like, how has it been 5 hours? What happened? Where am I? Why is Below Deck not playing anymore right now?
All right, man. What is your final pick?
My final pick.
Your final pick.
Oh, God. You're really going to hate me for this one. Okay. I'm not lying. I can send you a screenshot of my little document that I put together. My final pick is a movie. It is not a movie
Recommend or...
What's that?
Recommend or hated?
We'll get to that. It's not a movie that was released in 2020. It's not even a movie that was released in 2019. It's our old standby for when we need to fill time, and I still feel like it's relevant. The Last Jedi, and it fucking sucked. And here's why I think it's relevant. I'm not going to go into why it sucked. We've done that a million times. But I hated that movie so much that I have not watched a single piece of Star Wars related content since then, including Rise of Skywalker, Mandalorian Season 1, or Mandalorian Season 2, which is a pretty large amount of Star Wars content in the past year and a half to 2 years, however long it's been. That's how much I hated The Last Jedi, that it's actually ruined my taste for other Star Wars related things. Although I do feel at some point in the future it will come back. I'll admit, Robbie, you and I have had discussions about me blind watching Rise of Skywalker and recording my live reaction to it with you
as I drink copious amounts of alcohol just to make it through.
I had to watch The Last Jedi. It's just...
You never said you watched it sober.
I didn't know I needed to be drunk to watch The Last Jedi.
Well, I watched Rise of Skywalker sober twice. I'm not doing it again.
You don't have to.
I will watch it,
You don't
but
have
I
to.
will
You don't
be
even have to
drinking.
watch it, although it might help to see where I'm at. But
Yep.
that is something that we've talked about. I don't know when we're going to have the time for it because it's a little bit more involved than a 1.5 hour podcast or so, 1 hour on average. So we're talking about like what, a 3-hour movie probably. I don't know what the runtime came in. I'm
Close to 3 hours, yeah.
So like that's a little bit harder to find that chunk of time. And it's also kind of harder to do something like that in multiple sittings because you just lose the flow and the feel. And so
Yep.
we'll see. But goddamn did I hate The Last Jedi. Goddamn did I fucking hate that fucking movie. We will never, ever agree on it. Ever.
No, I don't think we will.
But it makes my
And
list.
Here's the tragedy.
It makes my list for
Here's
the
tragedy
third
of
straight
this.
year or fourth, whatever it is, as one of the worst movies of the year. That's pretty impressive.
Here is my issue is that you haven't seen The Mandalorian. Because even people that we know, even people that we've had on the show that loathe The Last Jedi are hard-pressed to find much negative with The Mandalorian. The show is that good.
I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I felt so cheated out of my money for The Last Jedi that the only thing I can do is not give them my money on anything in the future unless I know that I'm going to want to see it and I know I'm going to enjoy it, or there's a high chance of it. I felt like I went into The Force Awakens blind because we were just excited Star Wars is back.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were just excited. And it wasn't a phenomenal movie. It was okay. It was acceptable. It was kind of a major rehash of A New Hope. But okay, you kind of give it a pass because it's new Star Wars. And maybe we have to get new people into the fold. Younger people haven't seen Star Wars for whatever reason. Their parents are awful. And, we got to get them on board with a new trilogy. And we'll do it the same way we got people on board with the first trilogy. And we're going to ignore the other trilogy for right now. Okay, I gave it a pass. I was expecting Empire Strikes Back or something. Maybe Empire Strikes Back, expecting that. That might be asking a bit much. But, I was expecting something along those lines. I don't even know what the fuck I got. I am struggling to come up with a Star Wars related analogy. I got Jar Jar butt fucking Jabba for 2.5 hours with nothing but Ewok musical numbers in the background. That's what I got from The Last Jedi. And so they tricked me. They got my money. I went in there without doing my due diligence. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. Not anytime soon.
That was a hell of an analogy, man. That was one hell of an analogy.
Ugh, I hate that fucking movie.
Oh.
I will
I know
forever
you
hate
do.
that movie.
I
Honestly,
know you do.
I don't know if I ever brought it up on any of our best or worst lists after that first year that it was released. But I think I have just started a tradition where it makes it onto my worst movie of the year list every year. Every year. Every year.
And that's the show, guys. That's oh jeez, that's the show. If you, and I feel so cheap saying this at this point, but if you guys like what we're doing here and you want to help us out monetarily to keep the show going, consider pitching $1, $2 a month over at patreon.com/nerdynomicon. You get early access to all of our shows. You get a bunch of other cool perks there. We got reward tiers. Early access is honestly my favorite because a select group of really awesome people get to see and hear the shit that we're doing over here before anyone else, and it makes for great feedback. If you don't have any extra spare cash to throw away, that's fine. We ain't mad at you. There's plenty of ways that you could help us out. You could start by leaving us a review over at Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this show. You could comment on YouTube if you're finding us there. Tell people about us. Share the show around. Tell your friends. Tell your grandma that you're a pop cultist, that you've joined the pop cult, and it's far better than QAnon. Far fucking better than that. If you want to talk with us, you can tweet me at Robbie Talks a Lot, and you can find Adrian by carving blood sigils into your flesh and shouting, "I love The Last Jedi." I don't know.
You can find me by posting your love of The Last Jedi anywhere on the internet, and I will fucking find it, and I will set you straight.
He will find you. He will find you, and he will wave his naughty bits in your general direction. I don't even know how to segue out of this other than to just be like, okay, that we're calling it.
You see what happens when you don't invite me to these shows, Robbie? You start losing that natural rapport you have with me. You start losing the ability to
I don't know about that. I personally think that we've had quite the rapport here, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into some of these shows and films that we've been talking about. So stay tuned to Twitter to find out a little bit early what we're going to be discussing once we figure that out for ourselves. Yeah. At Robbie Talks a Lot.
God, that is the perfect fucking handle.
It is the perfect fucking
Not
handle.
for this episode, but for most episodes.
For most of my fucking life. As soon as I told Brooke what my handle is on Twitter, she's like, yeah, that seems appropriate, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. Hey! I mean, I'm pretty sure even my son fucking agreed with that. But anyway, that's enough for this episode, guys. We will see you guys next week for an all-new episode that hopefully Adrian is on.
Hopefully. I mean, that's really up to you. You're the one inviting me or not inviting me to this shit. I try. I reach out, and you ghost me. You ghost me.
I ghost you. I ghost you. Oh, you motherfucker. Until next time, guys, I've been Robbie.
And I've been Adrian.
Let's close the book.
Book of disgusting analogies. See, I didn't struggle to come up with that analogy. It was actually in my head for a little bit as I was talking. I did not come up with that before this, but I was struggling if I should share it or not. I just feel like someday this is going to come back to haunt me.